Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me playing a board game, or talking about a board game, and today we're going to be talking about Verdant. This is going to be my review and commentary on the game, so I'm going to start our background music here. Let's start here, sure. And, yeah, so as far as this game goes, Verdant is a game where essentially you're building a tableau of cards, and you're trying to score the most points. There's a whole slew of ways to score points, as you can see by the score sheet here, which I'll just show off right now. There's a slew of ways to score points, so a lot of different categories you're competing in to get your points, but you get most of your points by finishing plants. So let me set up this without my camera freaking out. So essentially, the core of the game, like I said before, is you're building out a little tableau, but you do that from a conveyor of cards or from a pairing of cards with two types of cards. One is the rooms, which are at the bottom here, and then the other one is the plants. And then you also have tiles that go in the middle, which I'll explain the tiles here in a second. But these tiles are part of the choosing. So the pairing that you're actually choosing is not the room and the plant. Instead, you're actually choosing from the plant in the tile or the room in the tile. So for instance, if I wanted to take this particular set, I would take this little cat here, and I would take this room, then I can add it to my tableau that I'm building out. So it's a little bit interesting in the sense that that's how that works. And of course, after you pick your pair, you'll fill in with some other stuff. And let me sorry, I'm trying to make sure my camera doesn't freak out on me here. So, just speaking on the concept of the tableau, at the top of the game, you'll start with a pair of these two, and your goal with putting these plants together in these rooms, essentially, if you look at the plant here on the left-hand side, you'll notice at the top there's a sun symbol, and that sun symbol determines what type of light that plant needs. So if I'm to place this plant in such a way to where it's lined up like this, then it'll gain one verdancy. Verdancy is what you need to get the plant to grow, to actually score you points. You can see here, these are the points that you get if you get the verdancy level, and that's the verdancy required. So I need to make this plant get 3 verdancy through either rooms or other abilities before it actually gives me points for the end of the game. So, knowing that information, if I, this is my starter cards, because everybody starts with 2 cards, 1 room and 1 plant. I'm going to start this way, and that's going to give me 1 verdancy, because this is a sun. This room has sun facing this way, and there's a plant there, so therefore I would get it. And the grid that you're building out, the tableau that you're building out that I mentioned before, is going to be a 3x5 grid. Sorry, 5x3. So 5 across 3 down. That's I'm saying this weirdly, but what I'm trying to say is that you're going to be building a certain size. So that size is kind of indeterminate right now. So this is an infinite grid that I'm working on. So that means I can have my build ultimately be set up like this. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll demonstrate a little bit more what I mean by that as we go along. But what I'm trying to say is that this is not one side of my grid or the other side of my grid. This could be the middle, this could be the top area, this could be the bottom. It depends on how I want to build it. But once my card is placed, it's placed. And then essentially I have to build around this with cards adjacent to it. So just moving on to my next turn. Let's say I want to take my first turn, and I want to take this combination of this and this. For my placement, I must put plants next to rooms, and I must put rooms next to plants. So that's for orthogonal placement. So I can put this plant here, which would be nice because it needs sun. There's sun there, so it's going to give this one verdancy. And then this shovel, this is an action item. There's 2 types of tiles that exist. One are nature actions, which is what this is. This is a nature action, that's a nature action. And the other type is items, which is what those are. So this cat here is an item, and this little neat end table is an item. So with nature actions, essentially it's a one and done, it's a one-shot tile. So I'm going to basically play this, and this particular tile is going to allow me to add 1 verdancy to 3 different plants. So I only have 2 plants, so it's going to go to waste a little bit, but I put 1 here, and that's it. I'm done. After that's done, after a player has taken a turn, then you refill, and then the next player goes. If you're playing solo, the rules are a little bit different, and I'll explain that later, but that's essentially how it goes. So let me just go and continue to take my turns. I'm just going to assume that I'm playing multiplayer, so I'm just playing multi-handed, if you will. I'm going to take my next turn, and let's say I want to take, that one's a little too good to pass up. Actually, no, I don't want that one. That one's a special plant. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Let's say I want to take this for some reason. So I'm taking this plant, and I put it here, and then I can put this on my action card to hold on to it. I have the ability to store one item for later. I can't store any more than one item. I can also get green thumbs, which I haven't talked about. Ooh, actually, sorry, I forgot. That plant that I chose earlier, which I think was this one, when I choose, or the one I don't choose, the one I leave gets a green thumb. Green thumbs are really good because they allow you to have a special ability when you cash in 2 green thumbs, and I can only get green thumbs if I take that particular card or somebody takes it in the future. So in this case, I did not take that one, the one that's left over. We're going to put ourselves a new token here. Happens to be a plant, or happens to be another nature action. And then we're going to go. So this is looking pretty enticing now because I got some cactuses that I want to have rooms next to, because this is a pink room, cactus room. That's a cactus room here, as you can tell by the scoring here and the color. So I actually really do want this one because I get a green thumb too. So I'm going to take this one, put it right there. I get the green thumb for there. And then when the room is placed, oh, sorry, I forgot to do the variety check, sorry. When the room is placed, it will cause the variety to change. So in this case, this one's going to increase because sun, it matches. And this one does not do anything because it's not the correct room type, not the correct light type. And because this one's now finished, what's going to happen is I'm essentially going to cash in these 3, and I'm going to get a pot. And the pot that you get will be determined by when you grab the pots themselves. But the pots come in point values, and those point values are 3, 1, 2, and this is all printed on the tile itself. So I'm going to take this 3 point, because it's 3 points, and put it there. And that shows that I finished this plant. At the end of the game, I'm going to get the big points here, the 3 points, and I'm also going to get 3 additional points because I put it in the 3-point pot. So that's what that means. So it behooves me to finish the plants as soon as I can because it gives me more points that way. So anyway, we're going to put a green thumb there. We're going to refill. Oh, sorry, I didn't take this. I was supposed to take this too. Yeah, we're going to cash this in there. So this particular nature tile is going to add 3 variancy to 1 plant. So I'm taking this, cashing it in, adding 3. This is a 3 to that plant, and it's any plant of my choice. Okay, cool. Now we can fill back in. Let's see. Another green tile, of course. All right. And let me get this bag of shake. There's other tiles in here, I promise. It's just I happen to get those ones. And then essentially you kind of keep going. And as you can see, as I'm building out, the puzzle gets more and more restrictive because we're starting to define my boundaries. And within those boundaries, I'm trying to make sure I finish my plants. I'm trying to achieve goals. I'm trying to get points. I will get points based on decorations. So let's just take another turn here. Let's say I want to take this pairing there and put that there. Actually, no, I want to put this down here. So I put this down here, and then I can take this animal and I'm going to put it right there. Now this animal is useful to put here because it's going to make it to where when I score points at the end of the game for rooms, it's going to score double for matching. So in this case, this room was already scoring 1 point or 2 points total because I had 2 matching plants. But by virtue of putting a decoration that matches that room, I'm doubling that points. So I'm now scoring 4 points for this layout. I would score 6 points if I put that there, but I wanted to put this down here because I wanted to get that variety, so I decided to do that instead. And that's what I did on my turn. Then of course we put our green thumb, fill in our tile, another nature token of course, and then we move on. So the main thing to kind of talk about are some of the actions that you have. As I mentioned before, the green thumbs. If I have 2 green thumbs, I can choose to cash 2 green thumbs in to do 1 of 4 different things. Those 4 different things are to essentially replace any number of tokens in the middle. So I can replace any of the 4 tokens in the middle here before I take my turn. And then I can or I can choose to replace any number of cards without green thumb tokens on them, which is nice to kind of wipe things out. Or I can choose to draft any combination of card plus token, which is nice if I have a combination I want, but it's not there. And then finally, I can spend 2 green thumbs to add 1 variancy to any plant. So those are really nice. Those are really good to kind of work around. So let's say I cashed in 2 green thumbs that I had hypothetically, and I want to clear out these because I did not like these decorations or actions. And then I'm going for my next turn here. There we go. All right, we got a decoration. Not ideal, but we got a decoration. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this pairing here. And I'm going to put this one, let's put this one down here. Yeah, it's nice. And I have a watering can, which I'll do in a second. But First, let me cache this in. Do that. And this is going to add sun here, which is going to make this plant be ready to go. It's going to add a thing here, which is going to make this plant ready to go. Now, these plants that I have here, if you notice, there's two different type of plants. These two different type of plants, as determined by the top corner, the plants over here is a part of expansion. It's a plant that you don't pot, or a non-potted plant. Essentially, once you reach the verdancy level, which is there, which I think in this case you need, is it 1? I need to double check. But essentially, when you add verdancy to that particular plant, it's going to give you a green thumb instead. So when you successfully grow the plant, it's going to give you a green thumb instead. It's going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game. I don't know if that's every single time you add a verdancy. Let me double check the rule here. So these are potless plants, and this is what this little mini expansion here is all about. Oops, there we go. So that's the text there, which I'm reading from. And for the potless plants do not have a specific verdancy requirement and do not gain verdancy tokens. Instead, each time a potless plant gains verdancy, either from a nature token or a room, the player receives 1 green thumb. Wow, okay, so I should have 2 green thumbs. Nice. But they're only worth 2 points at the end of the game. I mean, these are worth a good chunk of points, so I'll take my green thumbs for that. This plant is going to be finished. And I get to pot it, which I'll choose this pot here, which is worth 2 points, but I pot it. And yeah, that's pretty nice. And then you kind of keep going and going and going until you finish your grid, like I said before. But now, as you can see, I've kind of defined my height. Now I can only go wider. I can't go any taller on either side. So I've defined my height. Now I got to go wide. And of course, you have to alternate. It's a whole puzzle. It's a whole thing. This token is the last one I'll talk about before I move on to the rest of the review. Is essentially when I spend this particular nature action, I will get to choose a room, and then from that room, add one verdancy to each plant adjacent to it. These two are finished, so nothing happens. These two will gather 1 verdancy, which this one will convert into a thumb, which is even nicer. And this one's actually going to be finished. We're going to do a rock. There we go. Boom. Look at that. This game working out pretty well. This goes away. All right, cool. Of course, at the end of the game, it's going to be a whole point salad of points. I'm not going to go belabor that point anymore. We're just going to go ahead and move on to my views, perspectives, opinions, and everything else. So first and foremost, I will say that I originally had a very, very, very negative view of this game, mainly because I kind of played it wrong. Playing solo, the rules change up a little bit. Essentially with solo, after you take your turn, you add in a green thumb like normal, and then once you do, you'll shift everything down, like conveyor belt style. Oh, sorry, you don't feel anything yet. You shift it down conveyor belt style, and then you get rid of the last thing. Originally, the way I played it was you get rid of the last thing, any green thumbs on the last things went away as well. And I was like, man, this is miserable. I feel like I can't take advantage of the green thumbs. They're never usable. And then it just kind of ruined the feel of the game. Of course, everything shuffles down like so. And then you get new cards to fill in the space and new tiles. So you always have a choice of 4 pairings. But having the green thumbs be eliminated was incorrect. Instead, what happens is the green thumbs on the ones being eliminated will shift over to the left, and they'll go in that card. And then at the top of the round, before I take my turn, I check all the cards that have green thumbs. If they have 3 or more green thumbs on them, then all the green thumbs are wiped on that one card. So that means that it behooves me to take this card soon, because if I don't, then I might end up with that being wiped out. So that changed the game a little bit, because it made it to where I could actually use the green thumbs. And yeah, the green thumbs are kind of needed to help the deal with the random and chaos in this game, which I think the random and chaos in this game is fine. Another thing to talk about, after I played it correctly, another thing to talk about is that it's a little bit difficult to keep track of things. Once again, playing solo, you have a slightly different set of rules. But there's a whole pot situation that's at the top, and these pots are conveying down along with you. So more specifically, when you finish a pot, and the rulebook will explain all these things, but I'm just kind of giving a brief overview. Essentially, after you take your selection, so say I take this plant here, put it there, and then we do our stuff. So put the, sure, let's put it there. And then 3, And then because this room matches that one successfully, it's actually going to be fully finished. And if I finish a plant this turn like I just did, miraculously somehow, this is going to get potted, and you're going to choose a pot from the top right here. Now, if I somehow finish multiple plants, then what, instead of taking one, or after you finish taking your first one here, then you're going to take your next one from this pile, which is going to be building up of pots that you didn't gather in time. And you always take the lowest one first, and then you put it into your plants. So that part is a little bit of a hassle to kind of deal with. It's more of a solo world problems thing, to be honest. But it is very important to note, because keeping track of that is really important, because as you can see, your points will technically go down as you go along, as these all conveyor, and there's 4 of each until you get to your final round, which there will be, 0 point pots over here. Or sorry, final turn, which will be 0 point pots. But the main reason I mention that is because keeping track of that is a little bit annoying. If you're watching a playthrough, you notice that I slipped up on it and spent like a whole 5 minutes trying to fix it. I think I successfully fixed it, but I had to review the video. And that can be a little annoying. Another thing too is, and once again, just going with the negatives apparently, another thing too that was annoying for me was essentially the situation that there's so many cards. So these cards that we have here, this is a nice stack. These are all sleeved, so you might see more cards than normal. But you're kind of burning through the cards. And when you play solo, you're only gonna be seeing so many cards. Just for context, these cards that I have here and these cards that I have here were not playing my solo game. I did not see these cards. This particular stack here is what I saw in my solo game. And this is between cards that I had in my tableau and cards that went out of the game because they were eliminated from this little conveyor situation. So as you can see, this is how many cards I made it through, and this is how many cards were left in the game. So there's a lot of cards, and that means that you might have been in situations where you might never see a room that you might need. You might never see a plant that you might want. I don't think that's really highly likely, because there's 5 different type of plants, there's 5 different type of rooms, and there's a good blend of stuff in there to where you might see everything, or you should hopefully see everything. But even then, I don't think there's enough cycling. I think there's more cycling in this game than there is in Calico, which I'll bring up Calico and Cascadia here in a second. But I do feel like that's kind of a not a great experience in my opinion. I might go through and just kind of cull some cards, remove some cards to make it a little bit more tight of a game, make it a little bit less swingy, if you will, depending on the combinations you might see. But even then, that's still kind of a minor point in my honest opinion. I don't think that this rises to the level of Cascadia as far as approachability, but I think in the grand scheme of things, this has a little bit more than what Cascadia can offer. So, and once again, I'll bring up Cascadia and Calico to compare all 3 of them together, since I finally played all 3, with this being the last one I haven't played. And there's also a ton of tiles you can see inside this bag. Actually, let me just pour it out. There's a ton of tiles inside of here that you'll be able to choose from. So you might never see the tile you want. You might never find the combination, because you score points based on having different type of decorations, no matter the color, and that can be a bummer. So this game is susceptible to you just not seeing the things you need to actually have a good, well-scoring game. So take that how you will. Take that how you will. It does mean, essentially what I'm saying is that there's a little bit more of a dice roll involved in this game than I kind of would like, but compared to my original interpretation of this game, it is significantly better than what I thought it was. I will give it that. I do want to make sure I give it the credit where credit is due. Okay, so the other thing I'll talk about, another good thing about this game, moving on to the good things to say, is that I really do like this puzzle that it gives you. I think this puzzle benefits you. My enjoyment increased with this puzzle, I should say, when I focus more on finishing the plants first and then doing the goals second. I forgot to mention this during the explanation earlier, but essentially there's 3 different superlatives that you can play with, 3 different goals. And there's 1 for each type, so room goals, item goals, and plant goals. And these are something that you can achieve. You can try to achieve during your game. All players can try to achieve it. Some will score you multiple points. Some will score you one-time points. So for instance, this one 4 corners for having the outermost rooms in the 4 corners of your home be all the same type or all different types. So it gives you 4 points if you achieve that, which is pretty nice. And then some of them you can score multiple times, like this mixing it up for each row with unique plant types. So you can score some points like that. And trying to achieve these goals plus the goals that you have for your rooms, plus trying to get matching symbols, plus trying to get plants or trying to get potted plants, plus trying to make sure that you have your items being used properly, plus trying to make sure you maximize things. It's a lot of pluses. That's what I'm trying to say. And it can be kind of overwhelming. It can be kind of brain burning, I should say. So, that said, my enjoyment increased on this game on my third playthrough, which is the one that I recorded, on my third playthrough total, when I just said, you know what, I'm going to focus on getting my plants finished, and then I'm going to try to do my room stuff secondary. And that changed the entire game. That made it much more enjoyable, made it much more doable. And then also, I do want to state that the green thumbs, they are very small as far as what their impact seems like, but they do give you a lot of variability, a lot of opportunity to actually manipulate the game. Something I think is missing from Calico is that ability to manipulate things. And in this case, because you can discard 2 green thumbs if you have them to clear all the tokens in the middle, that's really nice. The fact that you can spend 2 of these to get one Verdancy, it might be on that plant that you really need just that one Verdancy. That's really nice. And then finally, you can spend the 2 to grab a combo of your choice, or you can spend the 2 to wipe cards. Like, that's really good. That means that you can cycle through the cards if you want to. You can try to take that risk, roll the dice, if you will, to find the thing you want. And I think that helps add to the enjoyability of the strategy of the game. And that's something I don't want to take away from the game, because when I first played solo, like I said, I didn't play correctly with how the green thumbs worked. And that's on me. That's kind of what led to me not having the best opinion of the game initially. But then once I read the rulebook, surprise, once I actually read the rulebook and looked at the green thumbs, it's like, oh, you're supposed to keep those in. I got it. Okay, that makes more sense. And it became more fun. So yeah. So that is it for that particular part. Now let's move on to the comparison of all 3, since I have talked about all 3. And by comparison, I mean relative to this game. So where does this game stand compared to Cascadia and Calico? 2 other games in a similar line. They're not exactly the same, but similar line. I would say in the grand scheme of these 3 games, knowing what I know now about how to play Verdant, I think I still keep the same order. And what I mean is I put the same order as Cascadia at the top, Calico in the middle, and then Verdant at the end. I don't think Verdant is a distant last place nowadays compared to Calico. I think Calico has a little bit more appeal to me from the perspective of it's easier to set up. Verdant takes a little bit to kind of get the cards set up in their stacks, get the tokens to the side, and get everything going. It's a little bit, it's not that it's difficult to hit the table, it's just that it takes 4 minutes to set up Verdant versus the 2 minutes to set up Calico. So it's not like the end of the world as far as how long it takes to set up the game. And then Cascadia is like, it takes a minute to set up, assuming everybody knows how to play the game already. So in terms of my enjoyability of the game, I think the puzzle is in Calico. The more I think about the puzzle in Calico, the more I'm like, okay, I agree. It is a very crunchy puzzle. I think Verdant strikes a nice balance between the 2, because Cascadia has a very easy, simple, straightforward puzzle. You just kind of look at your selection of tiles and tokens, and you kind of make the best of what you can. Whereas Calico, you really have to kind of think long term about what you're trying to pull, what you're trying to put together, what you're trying to achieve with your goals. And then Verdant is somewhere in the middle, strategy wise. So I think Verdant's a nice middle of the road strategy wise. I do think it's a little bit more determination. It's a little bit more deterministic. As in, you don't have much control, or you have the illusion of control, if you will, in Verdant. Calico, I feel like to some degree you can control it. If you play with the variant in Calico, to where you can kind of reduce the number of things, it makes it a little bit less deterministic, but even still. And then Cascade is kind of go with the flow type situation. So all that goes a long way to say that yes, I do enjoy Verdant. I do think the entire series of games, all 3 of those games, are pretty nice and pretty nifty, and I'll do a separate video talking about all 3 together. But I wanted to just give the kudos to Verdant, because if Verdant was just a little bit quicker to set up, I actually might put it above Calico as far as my enjoyment. But that said, pretty straightforward game, has an interesting, compelling puzzle. I think compared to some of the other games I was comparing it to from the Pencil First series, specifically the Whatnot Cabinet, I think that this game has a little bit more depth than the Whatnot Cabinet. I still think the Whatnot Cabinet plays a little bit more smooth, but that's just me. And yeah, I'll eventually talk about those separately in a different video. So, okay, cool. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. hopefully this is informative. Hopefully this is useful for y'all. Definitely let me know what you all think in the comments below about this game. And yeah, hope y'all enjoyed it. And as always, thank y'all very much for watching, and I'll see you all whenever.